tonight. Second to the Phillips and Darby Dan, this incredible farm, and to all of our hosts. Let's give a big round of applause for them. Greg started us with the story, so I need to set the record straight here. I'm asked, UK, U of L basketball game comes around every year. They put me in the chair, they put the headphones on, and they say, so who are you rooting for? And I say, well, as governor, when it comes to college basketball, you have two jobs. Number one, to root for your in-state schools, and number two, to root against Duke. So we try to get that right each and every year. I want to echo the Lieutenant Governor, and first of all say thank you. Thank you for all of that effort in 2019. Every postcard you wrote, every dollar you gave, every door you knocked mattered. When we look back on that election, what you did, how we came together, beating an incumbent, outworking an incumbent, saved tens of thousands of lives. I hope you're proud of how we did that together. I will say since then, since we won the election, since everything we've been through, the question that I get most often is, Andy, did you have any idea what you were getting into? And my answer is always the same. No, did you? It's okay to admit the last 3.5 years has been hard. In many ways, we've had 30, 40, 50 years of adversity packed into about 3.5. We had a pandemic. It's taken about 18,000 Kentucky lives. Worst tornado disaster in our history, 81 Kentucky lives. Worst flooding we've ever seen, 45 Kentucky lives. We had a polar plunge, negative 45-degree wind chill in Kentucky. Though we've got a couple that just moved here that had never happened before, I promise you. We even had that most recent weather system that was tornadoes and thunderstorms followed by a historic windstorm. We've had acts of violence in our community that have torn at the fabric of who we are and who we want to be. I lost a close friend. We got inflation that, while cooling, is still tough on our families. And we're even living through a war in Europe. Something I only thought I'd read about in textbooks, though I did learn through Twitter about a month and a half ago that apparently I've been banned by Russia. All I got to say is they're digging really deep if they got to me. But even with all that, and even with how personal a lot of it has been to me, and I know to you, I truly feel like better days are ahead, like we're living out that 30th Psalm that says, weeping may linger in the evening, but joy comes in the morning. While we have lived through that difficulty, we are already seeing what our hard work, our selflessness, our living for each other is unlocking here in Kentucky. And it, I believe, will be the most prosperity and the most potential that certainly I've ever seen. If you need an example, go back to 2021. We entered that year at the height of the pandemic, not knowing what the future would hold. We also went into that year averaging about $5 billion of new private sector investment in Kentucky each year, and we thought we were doing great. In 2021, we brought in a record $11.2 billion in new investment. We created a record 18,000 new jobs, twice the average leading up to that year. And we landed the largest project in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where with Ford and SK, we're building the largest battery plant on planet Earth. And we're building its twin right next to it. We didn't slow down in 2022. We had our second best year ever. $10.5 billion in new private sector investment, 16,500 new jobs. Since then, we've announced 2 new battery plants, making us, Kentucky, the electric vehicle battery production capital of the United States of America. How about that? But what I think it means for us is our time has finally come. When people ask me how we've done this, I tell them this, that for the first time I can remember, all our neighboring states are looking at us, are looking at Kentucky with envy. And they're saying to us, Kentucky, how are you doing this? And I don't know about you, but I'm looking back saying, I'm not telling you. But the answer isn't me, it's we, it's us. I can't tell you how many CEOs, how many companies that I've been on the phone with have said that they tuned in after the tornadoes or after the floods, expecting to see devastation, which they did. What they really saw were good people. People pulling up into each other's driveways they'd never met before, introducing themselves and saying, how can I help? They saw local, state, and federal government coming together to try to help our people at the toughest of times. They saw something special in us that they all want to be a part of. So we have a chance to be the generations that change everything. A chance to not only leapfrog 10 other states' economies, but to be a top 10 state economy. Never to be a flyover state ever again. Never to have people look down their nose at us ever again. But for a dad, what this means to me is we got a chance to change our brain drain into a brain gain. The jobs that we're announcing right now, look at the one in Hopkinsville where we're gonna recycle the lithium in our phones and in our tablets and put them into the automotive batteries so we don't have to rely on China for 1 ounce of lithium. Right, we're doing that right here in Kentucky. That means our kids, no matter how big they dream, middle school or younger, are gonna have the best chance ever to chase their dreams right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Think about the legacy that we can leave when we don't have our talented youth moving other places. We have other places talented youth moving to us. This is a special time in Kentucky, and other people are noticing. Site Selection Magazine, this is the #1 economic development periodical in the country, just ranked us for 2022 #2 in the entire country in per capita economic development. Kentucky, #2. We were #1 in our region, and we were even #3 in this thing they call micropolitan economic development. That just means we're creating a whole lot of rural jobs. And for the first time that I can remember, we're announcing jobs in Fulton County and in Pike County on the same day. We're putting a steel facility in Bell County. We've announced the largest jobs announcement in about a third of our counties just in the last couple years alone. What that means is we have a chance to do this right. We have a chance to get this historic moment right, because if we're going to enter a historic moment of prosperity, when there's a good job out there for everyone who wants one, whether that's coming out of high school, coming out of a community college, or coming out of college or grad school, all right, we've got to make sure that everybody is included. That means making sure parts of our state that are too often excluded, like Eastern and Western Kentucky, are a part. It means making sure that every one of our neighborhoods, especially those that are too often excluded, in our cities like Lexington and Louisville, are included. And it means making sure that everyone, all groups of people, are included with no one left out. And if we can do that, if we can get this historic moment right, think about the next one, and the next one, and the one after that, and then everybody is going to want to be a part of the special things we have going on in Kentucky. Now, with all that, and some other things, you might think that this election isn't going to be all that hard. Because you'd think if you were governor and had the 2 best years for economic development, if you had posted the lowest annual unemployment rate in our history, which we did last year, if you posted the lowest monthly unemployment rate 4 times over the last 14 months, if you'd had the 4 largest budget surpluses in Kentucky's history in your first 4 years in office, if you'd taken a rainy day fund from $80 million when you first came in to $2.6 billion now and been upgraded by every bond rating agency, you think you have a good story to tell, and we definitely have a good story to tell. But it is still going to be hard, folks. This race is going to be close, even despite everything we've done together. But here's why it's so important. This economic roll we're on is still going. There's still a company right now looking at a community picket. We did the biggest jobs announcement in Breckinridge County. So 88 jobs. They never announced 88 jobs at the same time. And for them, that's going to change things forever for that county. Somebody's out there right now looking at the next county for that. So I'm out there talking us up. Even while running for election, talking about what a great place we are and a great workforce. What are our potential opponents doing? They're talking us down. They're talking poorly about Kentucky. They're putting their desire for a job over getting that next game-changing, state-changing announcement. When I look at this election, I think back when people would ask me in COVID if I still wanted to do this job or if I'd do it again. And I tell them 2 things. One I think was right, and you can tell Brittany this. One I think I was wrong. The one I think I was right was when people asked me that, I said, we're going to make the right decisions, the best decisions that save the most lives. And if they run us out of town, I can live with that, because I care more about the judgment of my maker than I do about comments on Facebook. Don't read comments on Facebook. Definitely don't read comments, Matt, on my Facebook. But the one I was wrong about is I would also tell people that managing a state through a pandemic would be the most important thing I'd ever be called to do. Well, if we're looking at that game-changing moment in Kentucky, more potential moving forward, more opportunity for our kids. Think about it. If there's a job for everyone, what we can do to address generational poverty and to create hope in areas that may have lost it. What we have in front of us is the most important thing. And yes, the most important election that we will ever face. We have put selflessness over selfishness for the last 3.5 years, and we should not go back now. It's every dollar you can give, every postcard you can write, every door that you will knock, every difficult conversation with an uncle, but you have to have it before Thanksgiving this year. Every single one of those we'll need, but with them, we'll not only win this election, we will build the Kentucky that our kids and our grandkids truly deserve. Thank you all very much.